Hello. So, Neil Innes, welcome to the Newsagents. Welcome to Resonance FM. Lovely to have you.
I'm very pleased to be here. And it's such a sunny day. What are we doing indoors?
Well, it is quite cold, actually.
All right, it's true.
The wind.
It only looks nice when you go out there. You know, it remembers March rather well.
Yes, it does. I was in my jumper walking from London Bridge, and I thought, I want to be inside a small cupboard with Neil Innes.
Well, yeah, and listen, listener, this is a small cupboard, but it's got all the gear. It's got red lights, a clock, and speakers, and needles, and levels.
Yeah, we're mostly equipment.
Yeah.
But the people, that's you, are the most important equipment.
And Jude. And our listener.
And the listeners are all in here with us,
No,
spiritually.
I always think one listener at a time.
We're here to talk about the Ruttles, I think, in particular, because you are on tour.
Yeah,
with
well,
them.
It's not a career move, but it's something we enjoy doing. You know, so I think the last time we did it was 2016, and so here we are. You get the itchy feet again, and so we've got a wonderful tour manager called Gus Douglas, who's worked with everyone in the business. Everyone. Think of anybody,
Ooh.
and he's worked with them.
Annie Lennox.
Yeah. No, honestly. Yeah, well...
Bon Jovi.
Dear,
it's not English.
Dear Whitney Houston
British.
once ran out of a van and bought him some cigarettes and came back again.
I bet she was really fast because she got really nice long legs.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. But no, I mean, but anyway, he puts it all together, and we've come to rely on him entirely to sort of make it happen or not. So here we are in May, up and down the UK, and we're playing the Garage in London on the 8th or the 9th. 8th,
Soon.
9th.
Yeah.
No, May.
Yeah. Soon. I'm not June. Soon.
Yeah, soon. Yeah, so no, yeah, and far afield is Aberdeen and Glasgow, and we were going to do Stornoway, but we just couldn't fit it in. So we might do a tour of the Highlands.
Maybe you just go specially to do the Cayleys or something.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. No, I think we might do the Highlands of Scotland and maybe Ireland as well.
And you're touring with Barrington Womble.
Barrington Wobbled, who changed his name to Barry Wob to save ink. Yeah. No, it's wonderful. He's going to do his spring spectacular on this tour. We did his Christmas one, where he put his Father Christmas suit on, and he has actually got one because he actually does it.
Well, he's used to dressing up.
Yes,
isn't he?
He is. But he had a 30-foot roach pole, which I believe is a fishing rod.
Oh, yeah.
With a big star hanging off it, and Martin, our backline technician and wonderful, tunes guitars, plays guitars better than I do actually, but he held the star above his head, and we sang "I Was Born." He sang "I Was Born Under a Wandering Star."
That's a beautiful
dressed as
song.
Father Christmas.
How beautiful. I wonder if I can move this mic down a bit because it's hitting your straw hat, which is very beautiful.
I'll take the straw hat
Yeah,
off.
it'd be all right if it does, yeah. Although it's very spring-like.
Yeah, and we worked out
technical.
little harmonies going, "Wonderful wonder, yo ho ho." And he's, "I was born under..." Wonderful. So anyway, so that started off. Then he did an Autumn Leaves one. And now we wait to be surprised by the Springtime Spectacular. Barry Wom's Springtime Spectacular.
What's he got up his springtime sleeves?
It's going to be a surprise.
Oh, good.
I don't know. He said, is it all right if I design another T-shirt to sell? And I said, well, of course it is. And he said, only I was thinking of one that said, keep calm and Barry Wom.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Isn't it wonderful?
Oh,
I love the man. He's the funniest man on earth, but to look at him, he looks like Eeyore.
Well, I loved Eeyore when I think I was in love with Eeyore when I was a kid. And probably still am. You had Ego Warrior badges.
Yeah.
I really like them. I have had one of them stuck to my curtain for a while.
Good girl.
Yeah.
Because, I think it's a good movement. And it's been going, probably 10 years now, and it's sort of created waves of indifference on both sides of the Atlantic. Except, well, I took T-shirts for that to America once, and there's only about 20 of them, and I had them in a bag, a vacuum bag, to squish them down into the suitcase.
Oh, that's really high tech.
I know, and I thought, well, maybe I should declare them, and so I declared them on the custom form.
Really?
Yeah, and samples, no commercial value. I said, do you sell them? This lady said, do you sell them? I said, well, no, not really. They're just sort of giveaway. I mean, sometimes, people like to. Do you sell them?
Yeah.
I said, look. She said, I want to see one. Oh. So I thought, I've got to undo the vacuum pack. But I had a loose one. And on the back of the T-shirt is the Ego Warrior Oath, where I normally say it out and everyone repeats after me by putting their thumb to their nose in the ancient gesture of derision and defiance. I solemnly swear to defend self-esteem, wherever it may be, without ever being pompous or idiotic, and never to repeat, parrot fashion, anything I am told by anyone posing as an authority figure. So help me, Rhonda. Help me, Rhonda. Ooh, I could stamp my little foot. By the time she got to the end of it, she was grinning. She said, you're good to go.
Oh, that's good. I'm so glad, because
they're heartwarming.
They're frightening, aren't they, at customs sometimes in America
are.
coming in. My dad tried to bring in, just after 9/11, he tried to bring in an old tin. Those teardrop tins of ye olde oak Spam. I don't know why he had that. You can't take food to America.
No.
But no, he tried to take it to Florida. I had to wait like a long time while he and that tin of Spam were taken away. And
You used to live in America?
No, just used to visit occasionally.
Right. I remember the first time the Bonzos went to America. We went through customs, and the first America is in the flesh is the guns are real and
I know
custom. And there was some little Spanish lady or Greek lady, in tears, floods of tears, a little granny, and this heartless customs officer was shouting over to her colleague, "Would you believe watermelons?" And she brought 2 watermelons from the old country, to bring to her family.
Yeah, that's right. My dad just had his sympathy, just had his tin of ye olde oaky Spam from Manchester.
He's a villain.
Well, he might have been, but yeah. So touring is stressful.
It is, unless it's fun, and we have a good time. That's the philosophy of the Ruttles now. Have fun and try not to lose money. Because touring is fearsomely expensive.
Gosh, yes.
And, when you get split of vans and you get hotels and you've got to have a sound man, you've got to have people like Martin, doing the back line and making sure that if anything breaks...
There's nothing left for drugs, is there, really, after you've spent all the other stuff?
It's cocoa now. In fact, when we did the second album, Barry Wom came up with the idea that, it's not the trousers anymore that girls like about us. It's the fact we can do our own ironing.
But that's always been an attraction of a well-behaved man, I think. Yeah. Oh, I was looking at all the rock mockumentaries and the huge history of the Ruttles. I mean, I grew up with you guys on the television. My brother, who was much cooler than me and older, he was, watching it all the time, an aficionado of you. And so I've got your songs are like hardwired in my head because I had them so young and so repeated that,
It is, somebody pointed out, 40 years this year when it first came out on telly. And I'm incredibly proud. Well, in America, it came out on prime time. And to this day, it holds the record for the lowest ratings of any program on prime time. So, okay, but who remembers the episode of Charlie's Angels that it was up against?
Exactly. I know Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. Do you know that show? It's supposed to infamously low ratings at the moment. Well, you must watch Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. It's Rachel Bloom. She's a musical comedy music.
Right.
Great actor, sort of young,
Is it an
punchy
American program?
Yeah. Young women's generation.
Right. Where would you see it? You see, I live in France now.
Netflix.
Ah, I'd probably get it then.
Yeah.
Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
Yes.
Right, it was on the list.
Good. Yes. But yeah.
Another nice lady is Diane Morgan.
Oh yes, yeah,
Philomena
she's great.
Kunk. And I
Yes.
missed the first two, but I mean, she just made I laughed so hard, stuff came out my nose when she said, "And I'll be shouting up at helicopters."
That's right. I'll be shouting up at helicopters. Brilliant. Yeah, but I loved the Rutles. I mean, you set the tone for the mockumentary with Eric Idle's brilliant sort of sour-faced, over-serious presenter.
Well, yeah,
in his brown coat, wasn't it? A brown coat, kind of a
sort of a
filthy brown,
Mac.
filthy brown Mac.
The man in the Mac. He's a little bit like Wicker. You know, that sort of, I'm here and I'm going to be waving my hands a lot. You know, the kind of television presenter everyone can't stand. You know, they're always in the way.
That's right.
You wouldn't. Let's see what never mind what you're doing. You know, but the idea came about when Eric asked me to do Rutland Weekend Television with him. Monty Python had been playing in Drury Lane, and that's when he asked me, and I actually said, "Well, I'm not all that keen on television, actually, Eric." He said, "Why?" He said, "Well," and I said, "Well, when we did Do Not Adjust Your Set, you know, I was with the Bonzos, and the Bonzos used to turn up every week, and we were working the rest of the week. We just sometimes made it up on the way, you know, what we would do, and of course the Bonzos never did anything exactly the same twice, so the cameras never pointed in the right direction." So I said, "What's wrong with television?" So I said, "The cameras never point in the right direction." He said, "Well, you can tell the cameras where to point." I went, ooh, that's different. So I said, okay. And so it worked out that he would write skits and I would come up with musical bits. But they had to be cheap. You know, Rutland being the smallest county in England, it would be the smallest television station, therefore the smallest budgets, and quite frankly, the only reason that BBC Two commissioned the series is because it would be cheap. And so I thought, well, one musical idea would be a spoof of Hard Day's Night. You know, 4 guys in wigs and tight trousers running around a field, speeded up like Benny Hill.
It's a winner, isn't it?
It is a winner all the way.
And it's
costs
brilliant.
tuppence.
Talking about camera angles, those are brilliant camera angles in Hard Day's Night, aren't they?
Oh,
Have you
it's
seen
actually
them?
Dick Lester,
Wow.
which, as Eric points out, is rather close to Rutland.
Yes.
But no, anyway, that was so I came up with that idea, and he said, "That's great, because I've got this idea for a documentary maker who's so dull the camera runs away from him." So that's how those two things got together in Rutland Weekend Television. And if you spool on to what was happening in the rest of the world, the original promoter in America was trying to get the Beatles back together again and offering them vast amounts of money. And, of course, at that time, everyone's heart was broken because the Beatles had broken up.
I know.
And so Saturday Night Live were running this gag, you know, get the Beatles back together again. And they got George Harrison on, and Lorne Michaels, the producer, was stood there with, you know, $3,000 in cash, waving it under George's nose, saying, "All this can be yours, George. Just get the boys back together."
But he's infamously doesn't care about money. He doesn't live in a material. Well, he's living in a material world. But,
well,
yeah.
But he was saying. Acting, you know, deliberately badly. "What? All of this for me?"
Mm-hmm.
And Lorne would snatch it back and say, "Well, no, you have to share it with the others. Maybe you don't have to tell Ringo." There were all these kind of jokes going on. And so, cut a long story short, they showed the clip from Rutland because Lorne said, "We've got Eric Idle to host the show," because he said he could get the Beatles together for $300. And then they found out that last minute it was a bad phone line and he hasn't got the Beatles, he's got the Rutles. So they showed the Rutles. And everybody who watched the programme just wrote in and was in on the gag, you know, the Ruttle gag. The postbag was enormous.
Neil, do you want a cup of tea, by the way?
Yeah, I'd love a cup of tea.
I thought you were offering a cup of tea then, Ed.
I'm always offering a cup of tea. How do you have your tea?
Cup of tea, milk, no sugar.
Do you want something, Jude?
Same, please. That's all right. Thanks.
Are you recording?
Yeah, we are. I'm editing it later as pre-recorded.
But this is homely. This is much better than the Today programme on Radio 4.
You in?
Oh, no! It's kind of shut in. Yeah. Yes, I know. Because you don't get a chance to kind of chill out, do you, on the Today programme?
Oh, don't start me. Don't start me. What is going on?
Anyway. I really wanted to ask you, because I'm a musician as well, and a lot of people listening will be musicians, about your production for the... I just love the Ruttles so much about it, the musical side of things,
yeah.
you know, the use of instruments and the choice of instruments. And
we didn't go anarchy and have exactly the same guitars.
No.
But we did... Steve James, son of a famous father, Sid...
Oh, my.
Yeah, he was the engineer, and I didn't know him at first. We just chose Chapel Studios, and he happened to be the engineer there. And we just clicked. And he said, well, if we're doing it, we should record it at 30 inches per second. You know, and 2-inch tape whizzing around like that, you'd think it was a drone about to take off, you know? So we did that. We did it all, and when we'd rehearsed, and we'd done 2-track recordings of live, you know, like with the wonderful Ollie Halsall on guitar, Ricky Vittar on bass, John on drums, and me doing whatever I could.
And John is Barry Warren.
John Halsey is Barry Warren, and he's a rated drummer amongst drummers. You know,
drummer's drummer.
Yes, Phil Collins, you know, rates him. You know, he was on Lou Reed's Transformer, and of course, as he puts out, they spelt my name wrong. But no, we'd done it. We knew what we were doing when we went in, and we recorded it all. And the fabulous John Altman did all the arrangements, and even got the same two cello players.
Oh, wow, that did arrange that. I must admit, congratulations for that hit. Oh, wow.
But so put all that mix together, you know, and everybody knew what they were doing. But I forgot to finish the bit about the cello players. The same cello players that were on the Beatles things. The orchestras probably thought they were a bit deaf and heavy-handed, but they made the sound that goes with rock and roll from cellos. So they were there, and the piccolo trumpet and all that kind of thing. When we started listening to it back, you know, we thought something's wrong. And we suddenly, it dawned on us that it was sounding too good.
Right, yep.
It was actually sounding beyond the technology of the day when they were...
Yep.
So Steve said, well, I think we better compress it. Ooh. And we did. We compressed it just a little bit. And he said, that's more like it. So we took that one and compressed it again. And we thought, that's enough. Stop fiddling. You know, we're getting anarchy now.
Yeah. But you've got to get the sound sort of right, because if it's too separated and it's supposed to be like a 1960s mono crunchy, it's going to not.
No, I know, but
we
did some of the stereo gags which the Beatles played.
Yes.
The voiceover on the left and the drums over on the right, or something like that. So we fiddled about, because it had to be. You know, the game was with the Ruttles to pretend that the Beatles didn't exist. So at any point we could say, well, this doesn't have to be like the Beatles. They didn't exist. You know, we'll do
it's
it
a
like
parallel
this.
Beatles.
Yes, exactly. And, of course, George was so involved with the whole project. He really wanted this story told because, as we said before, you know, everyone's heart was broken. And the only way you could sort of like tell the story was to sort of make some fun out of it. You know, in a way, it's an official biography of the Beatles, you know, tongue-in-cheek, you know, to cheer it up a bit.
Yeah. You had the documentary of the Beatles,
yeah,
I read on
George
Wikipedia.
Got that for it. Eric and I watched it.
Wow.
You know, all the basic footage and rough assembly of what later turned out to be Anthology. And Eric and I watched it, and it was all great, you know, and then you think, and Leggy dies.
Leggy Mountbatten, the Brian Epstein,
yes.
yeah.
And you end up on a great big low. And I thought, we can't do that, you know. So we had to make it daft all the way through, you know. And but it was such a lovely project. Everybody knew what to do from their own way. It was a kind of workshop, if you like. Even the girls chasing cars in Liverpool. You know, one of them fell over and hurt her knee, you know, grazed her knee. And I said, it's only a film. She said, oh, it doesn't matter. We're having a great time. You know.
It does look like everybody is having a great time. I'm also interested in the way that movements are mimicked because all of you must have watched those Beatles, and then thinking about who's going to be who and doing the movements for the filming. I mean, like Eric Idle, who doesn't actually sing on the record, I don't think.
No,
he's not
it's Ollie. Yeah.
But he does a brilliant Paul McCartney. I was watching him this morning doing the one where he's looking over at Queen Elizabeth.
Oh, he was doing all the
really
cutie
playing
stuff.
up.
I know.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
he doesn't have such a cute face, so it's so funny.
When he said to me, "Well, you do John," and I
cute.
said, "Me doing John?" You know, no, I'm not nearly in real life as acerbic.
Nobody. Who is there?
Nobody is. You're quite right. But I thought, but anyway, I thought, well, I'll try and get into the mindset of sort of not being terribly pleased with everything. And it's remarkably easy.
Oh.
Well,
you did very well.
There's a little Eeyore in all of us, I think, But anyway, that was it. And so a lot of it was ad-libbed,
But your movements, like the legs, you've all got very good legs, when you're doing the tight trouser bit. Because,
we had to have, otherwise we couldn't have got the part, could we?
But like your little bounce as John is like just really classic. And Eric's has been studying, he's such a good mimic.
I think it was a brilliant asking Ricky Fattar.
Brilliant.
Who was the drummer with the Beach Boys. Well, he was with his brothers called Flame. And Dennis Wilson, had his accident, and they suddenly needed a drummer, and Ricky stepped in, and he was on Holland and a couple of others.
Was he? I did not know that.
Yeah,
Wow.
He's a great drummer, and of course he's drumming now with Bonnie Raitt, which has got to be one of the best bands in the world.
Yeah, very tight, as they say in music circles.
So,
wow.
but I mean, he does acting. He didn't do acting. He's just Ricky, It's just, and so George is just George, So that was just perfect. There's a scene in when we're doing the Ouch movie. We all had to have apples dropped on our head. And as it hit our head, we were supposed to go, ouch, you see? But Ricky couldn't do it. He just laughed every time. We just took the laugh that looked most like ouch.
Oh. Yeah, it is funny when you're doing something that is very actorly and you're not sort of primed up like actors are, always ready to step in. And you can see there's a bit more naturalness, which suits a mockumentary and a kind of amateur actor thing. That.
Well, it should mention here, Jude, that Gary Weiss was... hang on, tease up.
Tease up, yeah. Ed, thank you very much, Ed. The director of Resonance FM is not too proud
This is
to bring me tea. We're not allowed. Oh no, I didn't say that. No, we can't sell that. This.
But a proper tray.
No, but don't mention that on the radio, okay? Yes, maybe we'll keep that on the tray. Yeah, okay, we'll sit away from the desk here. Okay, yeah. So I'm already illegalised the show.
Gary Weiss.
Yes.
Gary Weiss, who shot everything. He was the co-director with Eric. So they could have an Idle Weiss production. Anyway,
that is brilliant.
He shot everything from the hip on his 16mm camera. Either off his shoulder or just He used to do all the insets for Saturday Night Live. The going out filming skits and things. So, it all came together in a very happy way.
That sounds, it was very happy. I mean, so much of the Rutles is happy music, and I often think there isn't enough happy music around in pop, because often it is my favourite type of music, stuff that actually makes you feel really up.
Well, I know there's an awful lot of shoegazing and...
Yeah, miserableists. Professional miserableists.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Les
people
and
love
the miserableists.
People love the Bonzos for that as well, didn't they? Because
I was just going to say, the Bonzos started off by collecting these silly old records.
They're not silly old records.
Well, novelty foxtrots then. We used to look on the labels because we all had wind-up gramophones at home. And when we'd be rooting about in the flea markets or the junk shops for these old 78s, a giveaway on the label, if the title wasn't stupid enough, would be Novelty Foxtrots. So that's how we got I'm Going to Bring a Watermelon to My Girl Tonight, and Jollity Farm, and Hunting Tigers, Alibaba's Camel, The Stalkers Brought a Son and Daughter to Mr. and Mrs. Mickey Mouse. all these songs were written in the Great Depression, just about, sort of 1920s, 28. All right.
We'll just get a bit closer, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I know we're a bit sad because we're thinking about the Great Depression. But,
I know what you said. I'm trying to balance it up to what you observed today. You know, there's a lot of miserablest songs out there. In the times, you know, 'cause you could compare the sort of ups and downs we're having now to a sort of bipolar episode.
Yeah,
to
it
what
is very bipolar,
you know, they learned something from it. In the other words, they didn't have the same crash in 2008 as they did in 1928. But they did that by the schoolboy joke of quantitative easing. You know, they just printed more money.
Oh.
So
I'm glad you're up on the economy because I'm not very.
I wrote a book, you know. I have a book, yes.
Oh my God.
Doom, Very Funny Money, Economics for Half-Wits.
Oh,
yeah.
Gosh.
Anyway, but beware the man of one book. Anyway, the fact was that they still had a sense of humour, you know, even in those dark days.
I think you could only write "I'm in the money," isn't it? 42nd Street during the Great Depression.
What are you talking about, Mr. Sainsbury? Or the Sainsbury
the
CEO?
42nd
No,
Street.
but he's been caught on camera singing "We're in the money."
Oh yes, that's right. Today, yes, he has, hasn't he? Yeah, that was probably why it popped into my head. Yes. Nice tea.
It is. I just put it on the desk. I was told not to.
Dear me. Oh dear. No, it's all, we're being very careful.
Let's not tell Squelchy.
I know. Yes. So the Ruttles. I'm also want to ask you before we. Yeah, I want to know more about the Innis Book of Records because you said just now you weren't so keen on telly, but the Ruttles must have made you okay with telly to a certain extent.
The telly I wasn't keen on was doing not adjust your set, never getting wild gags across because the Bonzos were anarchic, you know, so they didn't give the director a fair go. We did something different every time, so. But when you know what you're going to do, and then you tell people this is going to happen, then it gets more fun, you know. So Ian Keel, the producer of Rutland Weekend Television, said to me, he really enjoyed putting pictures to music. So he said, I'd really like to do a kind of Rutland Weekend Television songbook. And so I said, well, yeah, it sounds nice. And we had a lunch, and on the way back, I just bought a mobile phone. I was one of the first people to have a mobile phone. It was smaller than a house brick, and it really did fit in the pocket. It was made by Sinclair of C5 fame.
Did you have a car?
I rang him up.
What? Well? Did you have a car as well? The little Sinclair C5?
No, I didn't. No.
Oh, sorry.
I was in the cab. But anyway, I rang him up. I said, Ian, I think I've got the title for this television programme. And he said, oh, yes, and what's that? And I said, Paradise Lost.
Oh.
Yeah, but he went, oh, that's quite amusing. And I could tell he didn't like it. He said, I was thinking more along the lines of the Innis Book of Records.
That is such a good title, though. He was right.
Well, he was. But, I mean, I fought my corner until I think one of the first weeks of filming when I saw a can of film with the tape round it and written in Sharpie or laundry marker, Paroids Lost. And then also that day I'd been dressed as a character called Nick Cabaret, the one with the sort of like from Cabaret. It was nicked from Cabaret. That's what I got his name.
So sweet.
And a couple came puffing up this hill with a fat dog, and they said, what are you doing? And I said, oh, I'm making a programme for BBC Two. What's it called? Paradise Lost. I beg your pardon.
Yeah.
Paradise Lost. Oh, you know. And anyway, I realised we hadn't got the title, so yeah, Ian won, and the Innis Book of Records. And that, again, turned out to be a lot of fun.
I love the beginning, you know, the standing on the windswept cliffs and the sea roaring, that beginning.
That was the third one?
Was it the third one?
Yeah.
That's the one that stuck in my head the most.
My bowler hat with the Mona Lisa painted on it like a bird dropping.
Yes.
That was the third series. I think the first one we had a spaceman coming into a semi-detached house. It was full of
I do remember
and,
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love all the art show stuff as well in that. I love Cézanne.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Great. Lovely dancing, I have to say.
Oh, no, we had wonderful people. And Ian is a brilliant producer because they say at the television centre up at, where is it?
White City.
White City, yes. It's a circular sort of building, so it was built like that so that rumours could circulate more easily. And it's people making career moves, and he didn't want to make it from there, so he waited until all the cameramen and crews were booked up. They went, oh dear, I better go to Bristol then.
Very sensible.
So we went to Bristol, and of course people there were just as talented with their cameras and everything else they do, and they'd really like to get away from doing nature for a bit and do something daft.
Oh, it's great because that's why it's got a different feel to it. Because I always knew it had a different feel.
Exactly. But I mean, it was like another kind of band. You know, instead of the bass player would be the cameraman, you know, the lead guitar would be, you know,
But you did all the music yourself for this one.
Yeah, and again, John Altman was doing
arranging.
the arranging because it was a great license to sort of take all the different sorts of music you've ever loved and write songs for them, you know. And I was happy as a dog with three tails, you know. But we did country music, we did big band stuff, we did also string quartets.
And quite serious stuff too, in the sense of, I remember there's one about the war, a kind of memoriam song that was quite
Time
serious.
To Kill.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's
very
when
serious.
we thought well, everywhere. This is why I think I re-upset the BBC a little bit because we went over the party line. There was a booklet came out called Protect and Survive. And that's, you know, how long ago is it now? It must have been in the 80s, early 80s. And they were still saying, whitewash your windows and take a mattress under the stairs for a nuclear attack. And it's
frightening
tosh,
people.
You know, and so we put that together with a couple doing it, and their son, who's, you know, the concrete jungle boy, who joins up for the army and things like that. And then we included this song of the First World War soldier. And I think that's, you know, in a way that I'm happy of being able to have a laugh, but also have something to think about too.
Well, we live in the world, don't we?
We
you know,
do.
And just because we might like to laugh about things, that we're not all being serious, doesn't mean we're not thinking, as you say, as well.
And I think we all ought to be able to do both.
I agree completely. And that's why I liked, as a young person, I loved the Guinness Book of Records, because it wasn't just silliness. But I was a bit confused at first because we're so used to things being pigeonholed so hard. It was like, I don't quite know where I am now because I was expecting it all to. But then when you get over that and you think, oh, well, that's just an expectation. Just open your mind, or, you know, just watch it. Well, you're okay.
I know. I mean, we didn't know what we were doing, but we knew what we wanted to do. You know, there's a subtlety there. And I used to joke with Ian. I said, well, if anyone ever really wonders what on earth we're doing, we've failed. We've got to have something that happens, floats into another thing, and maybe you don't know where you are for a little bit, but you suddenly think, well, this has got something else, and I can relate to that. And so, and I remember seeing the television used to have the interlude. There'd be the potter's wheel, somebody throwing a pot, or two swans going down the road. And I thought, this is what television could do with now. Not bang, 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 boggly bong, this is in your face, coming up, you're going to really split your sides.
And telling you all what to think all the time, or how to laugh, you know.
I think it's made an enemy. I think, you know, you have started me on. I think television these days and the media in general is just one step away from terrorism. It's terrorism light.
Yep.
It's keeping everybody on their toes to be agitated about something because their business model is to deliver crowds.
Also, you have to be so opinionated all the time. How would everybody know everything? When did everybody start knowing everything? Because I certainly don't know anything. Maybe they always knew everything. You made me think of Oscar Wilde.
Something popped up somewhere. They say wisdom comes with age, but age often comes alone. and it's exactly. It's like they've made a niche economy by being pundits and having opinions, and now we think, well, they know what they're talking about. Of course they don't. Nobody knows. In fact, I was thinking that, the old saying, ignorance is bliss. No, ignorance is Brexit. No one knows whatever.
Oh, now you've now we've started.
Well, whether you voted Remain or Leave, you do not know what it means.
No.
And there's no good saying Brexit means Brexit. Thank you very much.
Yes, and the word. I mean, where did that word come from? I know.
Well, now we can look forward to a full English Brexit.
Yes.
Anyway. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, maybe it's for puns. It's for headlines. It's a headline word.
Well,
it's
a symptomatic of our age, of opinions and whatever. We've got branding as well. And this is
it's a brand, isn't it?
Yeah,
like Brexit is a brand.
And we're all going around. It's people farming that's going on now. And back to ego warriors. We're individuals, and we should fight for that and respect other people's individuality.
Yeah, and we should be able to say, I don't know, or whatever, and sort of let's see how this goes, kind of thing.
My last little tub thumping, the BBC with its licence fee should be the absolutely go-to place for as much information that is as true as it can be, as anyone can know it to be. And absolutely, and it's not. It's just aping all the other things that have to go and sell cornflakes.
I know, because
for money.
I worked at ITN and at Reuters for a long time, so I kind of have a little insider thoughts about all this. And I know that ITN had to make money from being commercial. It was commercial TV, and then so they do things to try and get money, but then they have the ratings war, like you were just talking about. So like the BBC, back to back, we must have more ratings. So that means if they're doing something, I must employ lots of people to look very carefully at what they're doing, and then try and do the same thing but more or something.
Well, it's a disease, isn't it? You can't watch a football match without somebody saying the statistics, or statistics, from 1950, where there are 78% fewer back passes. What? And that kind of information overload.
I know, statistics, I just blank out when anybody starts saying statistics.
That's
mostly.
another niche economy.
Yeah.
I think reality's never had such a bad time.
It really hasn't. Although, maybe is it a good time for musicals, musical comedies? I don't know. Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, American.
Okay, Crazy
good.
Ex-Girlfriend.
And Nina's Book of Records is brilliant. It's I don't know, music and humour is great together, I think.
Are you going to play any music in between any of this?
Yeah, could do.
Because
have you got any ideas?
Yes. Only the other day I was thinking, because somebody was talking about Viv Stanshall, whatever, and I remember a song we did together called "Don't Get Me Wrong," and it has a wonderful wah-wah guitar solo from a chap called Tony White, but Viv does this thing where he does this sort of monologue thing, and he suddenly stops. And the guitar solo takes on. And then he picks up from where he left.
Oh, how beautiful.
It is beautiful. And it could do with a bit more attention because it's a beautifully played track. And Viv is absolutely inspired on it.
Oh, we'll definitely hunt that out.
Right.
Or I'll have to hunt that. I might have to hunt it out by giving you an email.
Don't Get Me Wrong. And it's on the Let's Make Up and Be Friendly album.
Don't get me wrong. When I tell you that I need you, I really mean. When I tell you that I need you, I want you to be.
time I stop to think of all your charms. Ruby lips and eyes of pink, and a touch of aerosol. Under your arms, don't get me wrong.
Darling, it's been such a long time since we were close.
Don't get me wrong.
In my mind, I can just recall soft impressions of you.
When I tell you that I need you.
Against a wall, so warm, so secure. And I felt strong as tempered steel. Why did you let me go? Please know I feel the same way about you. You level my ideal. She'd have big knockers and skin like a seal. Smooth legs from the top to the tips. But you suck my soul with warm honey lips. Don't. Don't get me wrong.
Let's Make Up and Be Friendly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the very last album the
Yeah.
Bonzos made. With that's the only album that ever had other people on it. I mean,
Can
Steve Winwood is on there. There's all sorts of people on there.
I make a request? Is we know Terry Jones a little bit. Poor old
Yes,
Terry,
yeah.
who is at the moment is very
I know,
out of it.
I know.
But I'd like to play a track for him. I wondered if you'd like, even though he probably can't
Well,
hear
you
it
know,
or
see,
stuff, or
what-
thinking of him.
one of his.
Dedicated to
Okay.
him or something.
All right. Well, let me have a little mull
Mulling
and
on
then
that
come
one.
up with it a bit later. And if I look
Okay.
great, you tell me more about here.
And that Resonance, because
Yeah,
Resonance
Resonance.
is fantastic. It's been going 16 years, 16 years now, and Ed, our great leader, is at the helm and been keeping us alive. We're at a difficult point because we're relocating studios at the moment because the lease on this place has come to an end. It began on Denmark Street in the heart of Timpan Alley, London's
I know.
Timpan Alley, behind a shop, and that was a very characterful place to begin. And I think it used to go all the time, all through the night, constantly, hour to hour.
Right.
And people would stay up all night and then end up doing crazy things, like they might urinate into a basin because they were up all night, and then
I see,
record
yeah.
that. So it's a
Okay.
little. It was
Yeah,
more
yeah.
anarchic than it has become now. So now we're in this beautiful little building with a big studio downstairs. We're in the cupboard upstairs, and there's the office that's just outside, and there's a little courtyard. We've come in off Borough High Street through the iron gates into the little courtyard and then into our building. But unfortunately, this summer is when this lease comes out. So we're looking to move on.
Right.
So we've had a big fundraising and people have been really generous in supporting it. And now Ed's got to do the really important, fundraising forms and things that he has to keep filling in to finish off the rest of the job.
Well,
but we will
if
move.
I can Twitter something. Let me,
yes, do.
I'll keep the ball rolling.
Yes, do.
But you mentioned Denmark Street. There used to be a studio in Denmark Street called Regent Sound, and that's where the Bonzos recorded the intro and the outro.
Really?
So it's got a history of sort of wackiness.
I think Denmark Street just does anyway.
Yes,
I mean, you just walk down it and see everybody's wacky.
Yeah, in fact, I think the Regent Sound is actually
and
now a guitar shop.
Well, it all was a guitar shop. It's just like a one guitar shop. I think you just go into different doors, and it's just like guitars joined up, really.
But it's one of the places that remember, the fact that I got, because they have an enlargement of the cover of Beat Instrumental from that year, and I was made Guitarist of the Month for the guitar solo on Canyons of Your Mind. The music industry had humour then.
That is good. Yeah, you're up there with them. I don't know, those big guitar solo people.
Well, that's the other thing. I mean, it had to be sent up a bit, So that's what the Bonzos
There is a lot of pomposity, isn't there, in some of the areas of music?
Well, at one stage, when the music business was going, before it got decimated by digitalisation.
Yes, yes, I should not get into that.
No, I know, but the people made a lot of money out of it.
They did.
And it's like a lot of things, At one time, you could say footballers made no money at all. Now they make far too much money, and it's like musicians and producers and record companies made billions out of it. And now, and the musicians, whatever, but now hardly anybody who writes a song or plays on it or whatever gets anything at all.
Absolutely. I think people are very, they're living as well nowadays. They're living in their imagination back in this time of the big business of music where people
like
sort of made
deals.
I mean, like, sometimes you meet people who are making music now, and they sort of imagine it's about cutting a deal. They're still kind of living in a kind of business model or imagination of a business model that is out of date now.
Yeah, it is out of date. And, I'm actually talking to a company now called pledgemusic.com, because I got one more album in me, I think. And I've got all the songs.
Definitely have.
And I could do them on my own in a cupboard. With a really nice microphone and again and again and again till it, But I really long for the days when you used to get your mates together, all in the one room at the same time, put the red light on, and make music.
Absolutely, and play it all the way through.
Yes,
you know, and if you make a mistake, that's the mistake, and the mistake's the best bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Leave out the early Dylan albums.
I know if you had Dylan now and you put him in a great big polished floor so he could start skidding around or something onto a leather couch. I mean, it's insanity.
Well, I'd love to do that, but to do that these days you've got to raise the money. So these people have worked out how to raise money, and probably by pre-sales or putting together packages. I'm thinking of making that guitar available. The actual Gretsch Country Gentleman guitar that was used on Canyons of Your Mind, to see if we can auction it or something to help make money to make the album, because it does cost money. The people playing don't cost the money. It's getting them all together in the same place at the same time that costs money.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're going to have a go at that.
Good.
And also I should mention that when the Ruttle Tour takes place, I've just taken delivery of. It's not a Ruttle album, but it's an album of Ruttle songs. And they are the original demos, if you like, for Archaeology, the second Ruttle album. And I happened on them, largely because Rattling Ken, who plays guitar, like Ollie, had them. And he said, I've got them. And I said, well, I wouldn't mind hearing them. And they've got a certain je ne sais quoi. And So I put them out with a couple of other things, and it's going out as the Wheat album.
Wheat, like
It's
like the agriculture.
well, no.
Wheat.
It's white,
Oh, wheat! Oh,
and it's for rattle fans with ears. No, anyway, that's going to be on sale on tour, and there's only 2,000 of them, so that's going to be a limited edition.
it's just like it's become a Beatles, then, hasn't it?
Well,
Because you're using the actual real tracks that didn't make it onto your albums, and that's what people did with the Beatles in the mockumentary. It's all cyclical, isn't it? It's
know.
all
And those who know these things will appreciate the nod in that direction. But I think what's interesting, it was about 20 years ago since archaeology, as a songwriter, looking at the world now, these songs have actually come of age. There's things like the Knicker Elastic King and Joe Public and
Joe Public's
and
fantastic.
Ina Kleiner, Middle Class of Music.
I love Ina Kleiner,
Well,
Middle Class
they've
of
got
Music.
the early versions of it, and they've got a little something, kind of what I'm talking about. Of you're just making it. You're not thinking about this is to see if it works. And boy, they work.
Yeah.
And the version of Shangri-La, which I really love that opening line. Did you ever get the feeling that the truth is less revealing than a downright lie? And I think that's today.
Yeah,
I really do.
we are fighting through.
Anyway, so I hope people look out for it and enjoy it. And I've thought of a song for Terry,
Oh,
a Russell song.
Russell song, please.
Let's Be Natural.
Time goes by, as we all know, naturally. People come and people go, naturally. Let's be natural. Ever since the world began, let's be natural. Every woman, every man, let's be natural. Has followed nature's plan. Let's be natural. Oh yeah. Stars are in the sky above, naturally. People rise and fall in love, naturally. Let's be natural. Ever since the world began, let's be natural. Every woman, every man, let's be natural. Has followed nature's plan, let's be natural. Everything is everything, naturally. Yeah, people cry, laugh and sing, naturally. Let's be natural. Ever since the world began, let's be natural. Every woman, every man, let's be natural. Has followed nature's plan, let's be natural.
Terry. So Terry Jones, thinking of you.
Yeah, thinking of you, Terry.
I think we're probably coming to the end of our chat, aren't we?
If you've got anything missing.
Yeah, I want to ask you actually if you'd say help Resonance out by saying something like, I'm Neil Innes and I'm here at Resonance FM, or something, I'm an urban spaceman or something, I don't know, whatever.
Okay, you're listening to I Am and You Are, that thing.
Anything like,
okay.
Anything.
Hello, my name's Neil Innes and you're listening to Resonance FM. More?
That was really good. That's okay.
Hello, I'm Ron Nasty, and you're listening to Resonance FM. Goodness knows why.
That's great. Thank you.
Is there any more I should say about the station, the Resonance FM? Oh,
oops, that's great. No, teas. Resonance FM, the station that lets you have tea. But only if the...
Hello, this is Ron Nasty. And you're listening to Resonance FM. And I'm drinking their tea.
Excellent slurp. Top class slurping.
Well, you told me about the basin full of whatever.
Oh, the basin full of piss. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then someone would take the piss. No, never mind.
They would take the piss and, probably do something more performative with it. Yeah.
Performative? Is that a word?
It's all performative these days. Yes, we're all performative radio, performative slurping, performative tea drinking. You just did some performative tea drinking.
I did. I'm just thinking I've got to make a move.
It's time to go.
I do really. I mean, I've got 20 minutes better than I would have been if we'd done it at 2.
Yeah, exactly. We've done it brilliantly. So thank you. I'm Jude Cowan Montague. This is the News Agents, and this is Resonance FM with Neil Innes. Bye-bye. So bye. I'll just...
Okay. Oh, that's a pleasure.